welcome to our international podcast, Below the Belt. Welcome to each and every one of you. Beatrice Selby is already commenting on YouTube, always the first to be on YouTube. Ready and waiting, guys. Welcome to our international podcast, Below the Belt. Good to see each and every one of you guys. How is the weather where you are, guys? Well, it's raining, as they say, proverbially cats and dogs in the national capital city of Georgetown, Guyana, where we broadcast live our international podcast Below the Belt. And it's so good to have each and every one of you. How is the weather where you are? It's 27 degrees outside, according to our favorite website, weather.com, our favorite website to get this information from. And they're telling us into the afternoon, it's a 68% chance it's going to rain. 68% chance. It is raining currently. And as the afternoon unfolds, Dave, it's going to get even rainier. It's a 73% chance as the afternoon goes on that rain is going to continue. And overnight, it gets even worse. 83% chance. It's a full day of rain ahead of us. It's a full day of rain ahead of us. So whatever you got to do, guys, especially those of us who are in the national capital city, Georgetown, Guyana, and perhaps even Region 4, you're going to have to prepare for rain. Uh, I see Denise Landon Welchman is here, and Patricia Kissoon and Jelly Abrams is here as well. Maureen Carpin Williams is here. Calvis Nicholson, too, is here with us. And I see Sonia Williams Jilts is here, too, and Shelley Harvey. Carl Fordyce and Armin. Good to see Armin. I see Hazeline too and Joylyn. I see Melva. Melva says it's what? It's 35 degrees. 35 degrees, Melva says, where she is. A lot of folks are saying for the past 2 days, I see Maureen Copping Williams says it's been very, very cold for the past 2 days. Guys, well, it's raining where we are, but we are happy to have each and every one of you. The guys are doing some work in the background where we are broadcasting from, and so you might hear some sounds other than the sounds that you usually hear emanating from the studio. Coming up, Christopher Jones is going to be joining us. Christopher Jones, the opposition chief whip, member of parliament, you honorable Christopher Jones will be joining us. And as we begin our broadcast today, we invite you guys, as per normal, to share the live stream. I mean, who could ask for more? We are so happy to have each and every one of you here with us, even though the weather is not tremendously good today. We trust that wherever you guys are joining us from, the weather is going to be more rewarding for you guys. We trust that wherever you guys are picking us up from today, the weather is going to be more rewarding for you. Guys, how has the day been going? Thank you to all of you who joined the program today. Thank you for all of you guys who came on board. You tuned into FYI this morning. We were talking about rather, among other things, what's happening, guys, in Ukraine, what's happening in Ukraine, and we hope that you guys have been following that. The invasion of Ukraine by Russia, and a number of folks have come out and condemned very, very strongly what's happening in Russia. Guys who are joining us, we encourage you to share the live stream. We want other folks to get the valid and credible information. I see a number of you have already joined us, and we are so grateful for that. We are so grateful to all of you beautiful folks who have joined us, and we want others. Look, comments we have already. My God, if we had shares to match those comments, what a day it would be. It's just 11 past the midday hour where we are again broadcasting from the national capital city of Georgetown. Just a bit past the 12 o'clock hour, and we hope that lunch has started well where you are, folks. We hungry. I hungry. Listen, I hungry, and every day, guys, every day we hear a little bit more that things are getting tough, a little bit more about how people are struggling to cope, and something's got to give, guys. Something's got to give. But nonetheless, I'd rather be here than be in Ukraine at this time. I can't lie to you. I'd rather be here than be in Ukraine at this time. Trust everything is great where you guys are joining us from today. Really, really trust that all is going well for you guys. And yep. I would ask for nothing more. I would ask for nothing more. Sorry about the last slight feedback there, but good to see Joyce Van Kuchen is here, and Coretta Fraser Kingston is here too, and Joylyn Cook Deboto, Wilma Grant. Wilma, how are you doing? Wilma says she's joining us from Brooklyn, New York. What about Paulette Niles? I see Paulette is here too, and Candace Wilson, and I see Desiree Smart, Felix. I see Wendy Yap is here too. Wendy says we were in very serious time, and we agree with you, Wendy. Maureen seems to be in a different part of the world. Like now it's around 9 o'clock wherever Maureen joining us from, because Maureen says she's now having breakfast and she's having some oats. Well, when I grew up, I want to be like Maureen, having breakfast at 12 o'clock in the day. That's the life. That's the life. Patricia Kisoon, we see you as well. Maxine Cameron, we see you there. I see Tulsi Narayan. Tulsi, how are you doing, Tulsi? Good to have you aboard today. Below the belt is where the shots going. I see Delney Cadogan is here too. Delney Cadogan. Carlotta Reynolds is with us too, and Sandra Ford. Good to see you, Carlotta and Sandra Ford. Good to see all of you guys. Sandra's joining us from Queens, guys. Queens in the house. Queens in the house. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see Queens here. I see Donna David is here as well, cycling. Earl says she checking in. Cycling say checking in. Good to see you, cycling, and Oren Williams. How are you guys doing? We really trust that you guys are well. That's what matters. That is what matters, that we got the energy, we got the life. We're thankful every day to the Father, and we keep moving forward. We keep improving ourselves. We keep being better people. Good to see each and every one of you. Paulette Niles is here with us as well. I see Paulette here with us as well. We're getting a slight song that I don't like at the back end, and we're gonna check on that. A slight little thing. I think that is some of the gain we have to adjust there, and we hope we're gonna get it right. We're going to hope we get it right, balance it out nicely, and hopefully that helps us. We're trying to improve audio, guys. We're trying to improve the visuals when we have our programs, trying to bring you guys a professional program. And this has been our challenge to do that consistently. That's what I want to do. That's what we want to do this step. That is what the team, whether it's the morning show, um, FYI, or it's below the belt, or it's in the ring, or our website, Credible Sources. We want to bring you a good information, quality, valid information, credible and valid. We want to bring you professional programs, and that is our challenge every day, to continue to do that with limited resources, and with sometimes very substandard service that we get locally. But never mind that, we're pressing forward. We're going to be joined, as I said, quite shortly by the opposition uh, Chief Whip Christopher Jones, the Parliamentary Opposition Chief Whip Christopher Jones. He's going to be joining our discussion today. We're talking about Puckatory in the Oil Producing Republic, folks. Puckatory in the Oil Producing Republic. Y'all listen to Irfan and the flag raising, his flag raising address to the nation. Is everything. The critics and the naysayers took the whole speech. So we're following that. We're following that as well. Events in the sugar industry. Y'all think it's only Ukraine alone got problems? Well, events in the sugar industry happening too. A lot of people not waking up to the fact that the Elmore estate is going to be no more. They don't sell out the factory. They don't sell out the factory. Them boys say that them boys them boys said that the folks that have now leased the packaging plant at Enmore say that they're only leasing the plant, is now the full estate. But again, government has said nothing concerning this whole arrangement definitively. Everything that we're learning from other folks. Folks, as you come on, welcome to the podcast Below the Belt. We are streaming our international podcast from the national capital city of Georgetown, Guyana. And we hope that you guys share. Y'all are really lecture here. You share the live stream as you come on, guys. So the folks, as concerns this arrangement with the Elmore Sugar Estates, they're telling they're according to reports that we've picked up on, this joint venture between this company that goes by the name GKB, the joint venture company, says that it was the government. That's why we are learning another aspect and dimension to this whole Elmore Sugar Estate issue is that the government, that's what the joint venture partnership is saying, is the government that recommended and more as a suitable site. Wow, is the government, and I'm gonna ask Christopher Jones about this when he comes in. The government recommended Elmore as a suitable site for this piping factory that this government that the this partnership, this joint venture going to be undertaking to help the oil and gas sector, a piping factory. That's what they tell me in the news. We wish we could articulate it more elegantly and eloquently about the piping factory is what the news said they're doing, and that's what we're reporting. So there's that happening, and we're learning also that the oil field services, some of the services for this piping factory, what have you, it has already been outsourced overseas. But yet they're claiming on the same hand that they can be employing more people and so on from Elmore and surrounding communities. That's the world they're trying to pull over my eye. That's the world they're trying to pull over our eyes. But good to see you, Vesta Hardy, Rajkumar. Vesta, good to see you there, and good to have Savitri Ross with us as well. Savitri, how is it going? How is it going, Savitri? I see Samoa is still with us, and Diane Graves Andy, and this is Samoa Williams, to be more specific. Diane Graves, and just in case we got other Samoans joining us, guys, good to see you. Have you guys recovered from MASH? Have you guys recovered from MASH? Things are easy. Things not easy. And there's some concern about how people were fetting for MASH. There's concern, guys, about how people were balancing. Y'all think it's easy? Them boys balancing. We ain't got no problem with that. We like balance too. we sometimes we get past the too, right? But we gotta be responsible. That's the charge. That's the encouragement. We like being outside. We happy to be outside. But we got to be responsible. COVID still with us, folks. COVID still with us. Yeah, I think COVID going any place. Not in a hurry. Not in a hurry. In one form or the next. In one variant or the next. COVID there with people a little while. COVID going there with we little bit people. So we got to anchor down. We got to anchor down and we got to be responsible. But them boys were balancing over the last week. And if you see how they carry on, man, balancing. I wish I could show you all the video. We got the music on the video with the guys balancing. But then saying anything that could be beneficial to us. They didn't say anything that can be beneficial to us, but a lot. I know if I put on this music now, some of y'all can start balancing. That's how y'all stay. Right? Y'all stink and dirty too. Some of y'all stink and dirty. Y'all know y'all self. We not call names. We don't have to call names. You know who you be. You know who you is. Latifia, Nasa. Man, if y'all see, sometimes I get beside myself and I start passa. One of these days I can just go live. I can just go live with the passa. Just go live. Right? And y'all can think it's a different person. Yeah, I can think it's a different person, folks. Right? But it was bare Puckatory over the weekend, man. You should see the National Stadium overflowing with them boys. Right? Overflowing with them boys, man. Pass it to the world. But in spite of all of that happening, again, we have a responsibility, Dorothy David. Dorothy, when you go out and pass, you got a responsibility to be to observe COVID-19 protocols, right? Diane Graves Andy too, right? If you all see Diane pass, you won't recognize Diane. Lativia likes to be name calling, right? Lativia says she name calling, man. Them boys get on bad over the weekend, here, man. Them boys get on real bad over the weekend with the pass. Was full balancing. Full balancing. Was a little bit. Was plenty balancing. But folks, we gotta do what we gotta do. We gotta do what we gotta do. I am hoping, I'm hoping some of the system songs come through so you can hear some of what went on over the weekend. We know y'all fans.再回首，迎着段归途，再回首。Right? But you gotta control yourself. You gotta put it like big people, folks. COVID's still with us. COVID's still with us. Right? It's bare balancing that happen now. Soon, yeah, know yourself. Soon as we click the button, what some people foot can start shaking, they can start twitching, and all kind of things start happening. Look, Lativia done winding up here. Look, Diane. Diane Grill Strandy. Is that backball, Diane? Some of y'all know y'all stink and dirty too, you know. Some of y'all know y'all stink and dirty too. Y'all easy. Some of y'all are easy. Right? Look story now when as soon as you press the button here.
My sister Wendy.
Such a pent up energy out there. Let me turn that off before some of y'all get distracted. Let me turn it off before we get distracted. Right? Some of y'all just happy to be outside. Just happy to be outside. And y'all carrying on. Very, very happy to be outside. That's enough for Lansing for one day. Enough for Lansing for one day, people. Good. Stop it now. Stop it now. Right? Denise, I see you still going on. Denise, London Welchman. Stop it. Guys, good to have each and every one of you with us. For those of you who know joining us, welcome to our international podcast, Below the Belt. And we were talking about some of the events that are happening internationally. We touched on what's happening in Ukraine with the invasion of Ukraine by Russian forces, by Russia. And there have been several condemnations as regards to that overnight. Because even as the UN Security Council rather, they were meeting to find a positive way forward as it concerns the aggressions by the Russian forces on Ukraine. Russia apparently declared war in the early morning hours while you all were yet sleeping. While you all were yet sleeping, all of that was happening, and things have really escalated since then, and a number of international entities, bodies, and individuals have raised some concerns as regards what is happening here. And I want to go through some of them for you guys. And we encourage you to share the live stream. We want others to get this valid and credible information as well. And so the US President, we saw the US President Joe Biden condemn the actions of Russia. He says they were unprovoked and unjustified. It was an unprovoked and unjustified attack. And he promises that he's going to meet with G7 leaders a little later on today to continue to impose severe sanctions. That's according to the statement we see. They're going to impose severe sanctions on Russia, folks. And then we got the European Union as well, who said that they, again, in the tenor of the U.S., on the tenor of the U.S., says that these actions by Russia are unjustified military actions and were grossly violating international law and undermining the stability of Europe. And then we have Boris Johnson, whose government has already sanctioned Russia, coming out to say that they were appalled by the horrific events unfolding in Ukraine, and they slammed Putin for what they say was choosing a path of bloodshed and destruction. Then we saw the German chancellor, right? The German chancellor himself, stating that this is a blatant breach of international law, and he condemned in the strongest terms the Russian decision to wage war. And then the Japanese prime minister followed up as well, coming out with condemnation of what was happening here. And he says that this shakes the foundation of international order. The Chinese as well had a statement out, while not going to the extreme of condemning Russian action, says that the hope that persons involved in this crisis, parties involved in the crisis, would stay cool-headed and rational. So lots of stuff happening on that front, folks. Lots of stuff happening on the international front. At home, quite a few things. Quite a few things, guys. We want to see those emojis nonetheless. We want to see those shares. Do us the big favor and the biggest favor. Joan Ramasindo. Good to see you, Joan. Joan is one of our commissioners at local government. So good to see Joan joining the program. And we're going to have Joan on one of these very days to walk us through some of the issues happening at the local government level. Good to see each and every one of you. Savitri Rose, have you shared the live stream for us as yet? And I see Carlo Forbes as well. We encourage the hundreds of you who are watching, the hundreds of you who are watching, including the trolls. Give us a share, guys. We want everyone to receive the valid and credible information. So glad to be here with each and everyone. You give us a share, smash that emoji button as well. Let's see what are the emotions at this hour on Facebook. But really, really glad to have each and every one of you with us. And guys, we would have it no other way. We would have it no other way. Give us a share, and then let's get on with it. Let's get on with it, guys. We're going to have Christopher Jones, who's going to be joining us shortly. Chris is going to be joining us shortly and talking about some of the events, that have been happening locally. But before Chris comes on, guys, we got to use this road with more care. Too many people, too many people behaving as though they own the road. It's not all of us. It's y'all alone. It's y'all alone must get vehicles. Y'all alone must drive. It's y'all alone must do these various things. And we saw the Kendron over the last 24 hours. There was an accident there at the Kendron. I think the guy was very, very lucky. The guy was very, very lucky, right? Tremendously lucky, right? But again, this accident at the Kendron is where, according to reports, this fellow swerved from a horse. Yep, people not tying their animals up anymore. People and the authorities are very, very shy to impound. And so a horse, the man swerved from a horse, slammed into a fence, and you should see this lovely ride, this lovely black car this man drove. The whole front, as we see here, dented. The whole front dent. That looked like it's right off. That looked like he got to come here, lost his short, and move on. And then also at Schoonard, there was an accident. This one here didn't end with the first one ended. There were no fatalities in the first one. And in this here, right? Accident at Schoonard. We had some, we had some, we had this smash up this morning where an unlicensed driver lost his life. An unlicensed driver lost his life as he, in this three vehicle smash up, I believe, lost control of the vehicle and ultimately lost his life. Yep, 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 yep. Those are some of the things we're watching at this hour. We're going to be talking with Christopher Jones shortly on this motion that Kathy Hughes and Nima Flubest submitted to the clerk against the actions of Member of Parliament and Member of Government Nigel Darmalal again. Lots of people still perturbed that this is the way we're going on this issue. And also, we're going to be talking about some other issues relating to Gaisupo with Christopher Jones. But first, folks, we're keeping up with the bells from Bartica. We're keeping up with the bells from Bartica, right? And we heard quite recently, rather, that there was a lot of commotion by the Stelling as regards the bells from Bartica. We're keeping up with the bells. We're keeping up with them. We're keeping up with them. Mm-hmm. Yep, yep, yep. I think we got some of that audio with some of the commotion that took place. Some of the commotion that took place at the Bartica Stelling recently. I think we got some of the audio. I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet, but I would rather suspect that y'all brace yourselves. Right? Later on in our affiliate program in the ring, we're going to be looking at that. We're going to be looking and dealing with that, folks, fully. We can ensure it's fully ventilated later on. But we're going to try to bring you guys, some of the audio that we have at this hour. But a lot of commotion.
I don't talk to you, I won't lie yourself, boy. Look at you there. Look at you there. Concentrated.
Telling you.
You the fucking ass. You can tell you done today. If you're done today, what are your fucking back? What are your fucking back? One by one. Fucking idea your back. What are your back? One by one. One by fucking one. One by one. One by one. Catch them one by one. Yo. One by one, I'll catch it.
What's going on here, boy? Is the man fucking man fighting?
One by one by. One by one by.
That's some of the audio coming out that we're seeing there, picking up from a video that is in circulation on social media. We're going to be talking more about that a little later on in our program as well. But I'm eager, very eager to have Christopher Jones join the discussion now. And we encourage you guys to share the live stream wherever you guys are joining us from. We are tremendously pleased that each and every one of you are here with us. We got Carl Fordyce and Chelon Chester Pillay and Pauline Austin. We got Marsha Glasgow. We got Volney Wilson. Carl Fordyce is here with us as well. And again, guys, we are so happy to have each and every one of you with us. Enough things to go on. Enough things to go on. And again, we are so grateful to have Christopher Jones joining us. We couldn't ask for more. And Chris is with us. I believe we have Chris. Let me just make sure we have Chris with us today. Chris, are you there?
Present.
Chris, a very good afternoon to you, sir. Happy
Good
40,
afternoon.
happy 52nd Republic anniversary.
Same
Republic,
to
sir.
same to you and your listeners, Sharon. Same to you and your listeners.
Fantastic. Folks, we have with us the Parliamentary Opposition Chief Whip, Mr. Christopher Jones, joining us, the Honorable Member of Parliament. Well, Chris, no, every day in the Oil Producing Republic is Puckatory. Every day in the Oil Producing Republic is Puckatory. And Chris, we were just sharing some of the audio circulating on social media of a video with the bells in Bartica. We know these are PPP folks who are laws unto themselves in Bartica. There seems to have been a commotion, a confrontation between members of this family. I saw one advancing to a gentleman with what looked like a long screwdriver in his hands in a very menacing fashion. Chris, Puckatory in the Opposition Republic every day.
Exactly. Sharon, that is only part of the larger situation that we have in the country after the PPP has been installed. I mean, you go about the city, particularly Georgetown on the East Coast. You see those associated to the PPP, whether just supporters with vehicles with blazing police lights and sirens and so forth. And the police simply watch them drive by. They essentially push people off the road and so forth because they're supporters of the PPP. So they believe it's daytime and they are two lords unto themselves. So I'm not surprised with what you're seeing happening with those ones in Bartica, but it's the situation that is happening in many parts of the country. These supporters of the PPP believe that they are now a lord unto themselves because essentially they watch and see how their seniors, their party officials, as ministers of government, how they operate, and they believe that they can do same too as well.
Yep. And I'm happy you raised that issue of the sirens, Chris, because in the Sabbath News cartoon today, politics, if people follow this cartoon strip that appears in Sabbath News, they talk about they talk specifically about that. There's a dark vehicle in
Mm.
this caricature, art imitating life with sirens blaring, and the question that's being asked by the cartoonist is, are there aliens amongst us, Minister Commissioner of Police? Because I know the police commissioner had issued some directives on who are allowed to use sirens and all of that, but like them boys and gay,
Exactly, exactly, exactly.
them boys.
They don't. And you see, as how I continue to operate on the road, and I dare say to other drivers out there as well, is by virtue of the law. It is enshrined in the laws of Guyana that a vehicle that is blazing sirens and police lights, they have to be outfitted. They have to. There's category of vehicles that are allowed. It must be an emergency medical vehicle. It must be a fire tender, or it
Mm-hmm,
must be a kind of police vehicle. Otherwise than that, there's no other category of vehicle that are allowed to
mm-hmm,
be blazing sirens and lights. When I'm on the road, if they're coming behind me and I recognize that it's just a one of these Land Cruisers or whatever the case be with lights flashing and all of that, I don't move. I don't move because I have the law on my side,
mm-hmm.
right? If they want, they can jam my vehicle and all of us will end up in the court, but I do not move. The only vehicles I give way to is fire tender, the Guyana police force vehicle, or the medical vehicles that are going by.
Mm-hmm. It's a sore issue, and again, I think the fact that the cartoonist is raising it is because it's a sore issue. On any given day, you got to
Hmm.
move aside for these guys to pass. It's a set of nonsense. On any given
Exactly.
day, it's a whole set of craziness on the roads, and it's all kinds of vehicles. It's not only police
Hmm.
vehicles. It's what is clearly in some instances some very very private vehicles. In lots of
Yeah.
instances,
We
it's
don't
some
want to
very
scare
very
anybody.
private vehicles, right? Sirens blazing, and you could be in some deep deep traffic, right? And it's all
Yep.
is the guards got sirens, the nanny, the cleaner, everybody got sirens,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
you know.
I recall there was this one with one of the minister's vehicle, lights blazing and siren going, and this guy gave way to the vehicle. Probably about two or three corners after he caught up with the vehicle turned into KFC. So essentially, he was on a KFC run, and by virtue of that, used sirens and lights and so forth. That is what's happening.
Yep, yep. Unfortunate, no doubt. But Chris, on the parliamentary fund, we've been dealing with the fallout, or they have been dealing with the fallout of Minister Nigel Darmalal's dastardly crass behavior and actions in the National Assembly. The public, I think by now knows that in one of the last sittings of the National Assembly, throughout the examination of the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development's budgetary allocation, as persons were posing questions to the minister, in Parliament, you see the honorable minister, he sought opportunity to belittle people in very, very disparaging ways. And one of the things he uttered was the whole dildo comment. You need a dildo. And we saw emanating from that, the latest fallout emanating from that is the fact that members of parliament, Catherine Hughes and Nima Flu Best, have submitted a motion to the clerk of the National Assembly pertaining to this very issue.
Sure.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, right. No, so, well, right. Just to share with you as well, and your listeners, indeed, this motion has been submitted, and this motion calls on the House to send Nigel Darmalal to the Committee of Privileges, as which there are eight members of the opposition that have been sent to the Privileges Committee,
Mm-hmm,
for him to
mm-hmm,
be sanctioned for the use of his language in the house, particularly the use of the word that you wanted dildo and so on. But just to reiterate to your listeners as well, do is that this was not the only incident on the particular day with Nigel Darmalal, because the consideration of the estimates for the local government and regional development ministry, it would have taken, I think it's 10 hours. We were halfway through. And between that 5 hours, you had a litany of insults being hurled to opposition members, women in particular, from Nigel Darmalal. As I mentioned before, Ganesh Maipal got the first dose of him. Then it was followed by Sherwin Holder. Then it was followed by Ganesh Maipal again. Then it was followed by myself, the regional chairman of Region 4. Then it went to Region 5, in which Vince Roy Jordan as well suffered some of those insults from Nigel Darmalal and so forth. So it was a complete 5 hours of this. And constantly you had opposition members calling on the speaker to upbraid Darmalal, to have him cease and desist and so forth. But you had a tacit approach by the speaker in terms of dealing with it. And that's how it culminated with Nigel Darmalal feeling so empowered in the House that he believed that he's a lord unto himself, and the speaker will give him freeway, as the speaker has been doing, and he decided that he can use other words as well, and that's how you had dildo. You wanted dildo and so forth, and even with that, the speaker did not halt, stop, and upbraided Nigel Darmalal. It took you, Sharon, on the floor to put both Dharmalal and the speaker in their places, because it would have just continued. And this is what we have been going through, not only during these consideration of the estimate, but it happened last year as well
Mm-hmm,
too.
mm-hmm.
And even outside of last year's sitting of the consideration of the estimates, throughout any sitting of the National Assembly, you have these remarks being hurled by Nigel Darmalal and many other government ministers, of which the speaker turned a blind eye and a deaf ear to. It's constant. So now that the motion of no confidence, the motion to have him taken to the Committee of Privileges is there, we want to see what will be the response and reaction by the government members who also sit on the committee. Is it that they endorse the use of language like that in the House, and their performance or their approach when we meet in the Committee of Privileges will be very instructive. It will inform our entire opinion about the administration of itself, in terms of senior government officials being allowed to hurdle insults at the highest decision making forum in the country, and at women. And as I said on a previous program, this is nothing new um, with PPP ministers of the government. It is nothing new. Nigel Darmalal is not the first, and I would want to say that he will not be the last. And I take your listeners back again, Sharon, to what we then dubbed the strip and slap minister, and that was Mr. Rand when he sat as Minister of Health. There were incidents involving former President Bharat Jagdeo and former First Lady Varshni Jagdeo, who herself is on public record stating about the verbal and emotional abuse that she suffered at the hands of Bharat Jagdeo when he was president. She spoke about being locked out of their matrimonial room and so forth, being talked about her driver and security detail being taken away from her. And she was at that time first lady of the country. And so Nigel, as I said, is not the first. He will certainly not be the last PPP senior official that is involved in physical, emotional abuse of women. Unfortunately, it has now reached the highest forum of the land, the National Assembly, in which the minister believed that he has a right and he can say this and get away with it. But we will see what happens in the Committee of Privilege.
Interesting times ahead, Chris. And you know, the hypocrites that they are
Mm-hmm.
hypocrites, hypocrites, hypocrites. March 8th is Women's Day, the National Women's Day, and you're going to see the lofty speeches. Oh, all that they've done for
Yes.
women, how they respect women, and so on. But when it comes to
Yes.
putting actions towards hypocrites,
Mm-hmm.
generation of
Exactly.
vipers.
Mhm. Exactly, exactly. But they're noted for that. I mean, Sharon, we say this time and time again that the PPP is good at making fancy speeches at international and local and regional forums,
Mm-hmm,
talking
mm-hmm,
about
mm-hmm.
unity and inclusivity and oneness and all of that. and they practice something completely different. Case in point, just the other night, Irfan Ali addressing the gathering at the flag raising ceremony for the 52nd Republic anniversary, and he spoke about inclusivity and inclusiveness. And right there, he is speaking to an audience of which they deliberately excluded the parliamentary opposition from attending the flag raising ceremony of the country's republic. Could you believe that? And he
Mm-hmm.
is speaking
Mm-hmm.
there
Mm-hmm.
about inclusivity and good governance
Mm-hmm.
and rule of law. And this is being the backdrop to where he is making these remarks is the public buildings, the House of the Parliament of Guyana, and his administration deliberately excluded inviting the parliamentary opposition, all 31 of them. Not even, they even said, well, yeah, we invited one, not one. And that came on the heels of the oil and gas conference that was had the week before, of which, again, not one single parliamentary opposition was invited to such an important conference. You would believe that the oil and gas in Guyana comes from Freedom House in Rap Street. So this is a party thing, you know? It's about party, it's about me, I'm a people them. And that's essentially how the PPP operates and govern this country.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to international forum, they like to ensure that they speak so the diplomatic community will be able to capture what they say. And then they use words that we
Ladies and
practice good
gentlemen,
governance and rule of law
we're
and
witnessing the
inclusivity.
It's
arrival of
hypocrisy.
His
It's hypocrisy.
Excellency
But Chris,
Dr. Mohammed
I was just
Irfan
bringing some of the
Ali,
audio from
the
that
ninth
very
Executive
ceremony
President of the
on
Cooperative
Saturday,
Republic of Guyana
on
and
Wednesday rather,
Commander-in-Chief of the Armed
Tuesday evening
Forces
to be more
and First
specific.
Lady Mrs.
um,
Arya
Bringing
Ali.
some of the audio there. But Krista, here as part of this presentation here, this whole notion and concept they're hobbling along with of one Guyana is quite startling. It's quite
Mhm.
startling.
Mhm.
In the face of the
Indeed.
fact you want one Guyana as you mentioned, but you're not even mature enough at 52,
Yeah.
right? To
Yeah.
bring all these stakeholders, of which the opposition, the
Yes.
parliamentary opposition, is a major one. The
Yeah.
parliament doesn't is not made up of only the government. You're gonna use
Exactly.
parliament building, the people's building, public building,
Hmm.
right? And you
Hmm.
don't even invite the parliamentary opposition. What
Yeah.
gross? First thing they respect themselves. I can't even say it's disrespecting the opposition. It's disrespect to
Exactly.
themselves first.
Exactly.
To themselves
Exactly.
first. Right? And then
Yeah.
you go on that stage there, spend all the taxpayers' money
Hmm.
on the fan series, your fancy suit, your fancy stage, and then you're gonna talk
Hmm.
about one Guyana and doing the total
Yeah.
opposite, you know. And much of this speech,
Yeah.
Chris, much of this speech
Yeah.
went to you, right? The man to the critics, right?
Yes.
The
Yes.
naysayers, the man, the whole speech, you know, nothing uplifting, nothing motivational. You know,
Yeah.
it's like you living in Irfan head and you paying your rent.
Yes. 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 That's its thing, you know. I mean, when you listen to the content of the man's speech, right? When you listen, I mean,
You like a
you picture
Vibraco.
me, you know, picture me sitting as an opposition member of parliament, not being invited to this most important event, and hearing the man's content of his speech, speaking about the rumor mongers and those who will preach hate and division, and and I'm literally listening to this man who did not invite me nor my 30 other colleagues
Yes.
who have been elected by the people.
Oh
I
yes.
told I said to a reporter yesterday that it is not a case that 31 of us just decided that, listen, oh, we are opposition members of parliament. Each and every single one of us in the seat that we sit, we are sitting on 7,500 votes. 7,500 person, each and every single individual one of us represents. So therefore, it is not us, the individual, but it's the people. And it's people, it's part of this population, the very same population that Irfan Ali is speaking about wanting to create oneness and speaking against those who will try to bring about division. And here it is, he has excluded half the population from this event. like he did just a week ago,
Yep, yep,
excluded
yep.
half the population from an oil and gas conference, which is national. This is not. Yeah, I said to the reporters, there are some things that should cut across the political divide. There are some things. And Republican celebration, independence celebration, conferences such as Island Gas with this new discovery, this new wealth that this country is heading in, those are just some of the events that cuts across political divide. Because at the end of the day, the oil and gas resources of this country is for every single
Very
Guyanese.
well.
And we
Talk your
know
things.
that this is something new to us. This is something new to us. And none of us have the experience or know about oil and gas. But together, as a combined force, we will ensure that we defend and protect the patrimony of this country. Because those people from abroad who will be coming to these shores because of oil and gas, they are coming with intent. And their intent will not be to the benefit of the Guyanese people first. Their
Hmm.
intent will be for the benefit of themselves and their company that they represent. And that is why you have to ensure that there is this united front: opposition, government, PPP, PNC, WPA, AFC. You have to ensure that this is a united front, that as Guyanese first, who we are, before our political party, is that we stand in defense of the patrimony of this country,
Correct is
that
right.
we want to ensure that the resources of this country goes and benefit the people of this country first.
Correct is right.
Anybody else after. And that's where you cut across the political
Hmm.
divide. But ear poor ear fan, preaching oneness and doing something completely different. Typical PPP. Typical.
Hypocrites. Hypocrites.
Hypocrites.
That's what they are. Or Spirit said hypocrites.
Mhm.
Spirit spelled it. Hypocrites. You know, we got hundreds of persons who are watching us. Welcome to our program, our podcast, Below the Belt. If you're now joining for the first time in some instances, welcome to our podcast, guys. We have the Parliamentary Opposition Chief Whip with us this afternoon, Mr. Christopher Jones, no stranger to the public by any means, and we're talking about Puckatory in the oil producing republic, because that's what we have happening. That's what we have happening
Mhm.
is Puckatory every day, every day. You know, listening to Irfan rail against detractors and critics and naysayers. That script gonna be a Putin script, Chris,
Yes.
because that's how them
Yes.
biases operate.
Exactly.
Right? If you live in a
Exactly.
democratic country like we want to expose,
Mhm.
you got criticisms. Who is you?
That's
Jesus,
right.
and even Jesus and Muhammad and Allah and them boys, right?
Yep.
Had critics. And people still criticize them and what they stood for. Right? You want
Mhm.
critics? Right? I see y'all there with critics every day. Y'all want critics? Every day y'all there with critics, man. You actually like critics. But that being said, Chris, on every front, and Chris, why I like talking to you, you are a young man, right? You're young looking. But people know we big, but we got sense. Chris is a young man. Chris has been in politics a little while. He started very early in politics. I think Chris is in politics about 23 years now. Am I up a year or two, Chris?
Yeah, that's correct. That's
20,
correct.
23 years. So Chris has seen the vicissitudes of politics, the ebb and flow. He understands the anatomy, the physiology of politics, especially in this country here. You understand how them boys operate. It's nothing new. You
Mhm.
understand me? People say if you
Mhm.
learn the first 8 keys on the keyboard, everything else is a repetition of that. You learn
Yep.
these guys, the playbook, everything else is a repetition. Who would expect these boys to come back differently? Look at how they're operating. Everybody's a shame. Even them who the
Mhm.
one give them a fair chance, even though you don't find all them things in the ballot boxes in their well rather the communities that traditionally vote PPC on the East Coast. If you even want to give them a fair chance, even though they take out all them documents, you can't because it's the same old PPP. The same
Yep.
old PPP. Now look, just to demonstrate, Chris, them boys said they're coming back. You know, we boys don't know but agriculture, we know but sugar and so on. They are the czars, they
Mhm.
are the geniuses and so on for the sugar industry and so on. They're gonna reopen, they're gonna make sugar great again, they're gonna make it great again,
Yeah.
bigly,
Yeah.
bigly, they're gonna make sugar great again. Look where we there. Soon as they land,
Mhm.
they tell me that they
Mhm.
can now convert wheels to gas to sure. No more sugar there. Granger,
No more sugar.
Chris, from your party, the
Mm-hmm.
People's National Congress reform, when we were right sizing the industry, give farmers, give farmer sugar workers slash farmers
Mm-hmm.
lands to farm,
Mm-hmm.
subsistence
Mm-hmm.
farming, to catch their hand, to
Yep.
make a living. That's what they know. Now them boys coming
That's
to
right.
drive farmers off of the land to bring that gas to show project, right? No
Exactly.
studies done, no nothing. This is a no-brainer. It can make money. Just like Gaisuko and Skeldon. They can make money.
Mm-hmm.
Just like
Mm-hmm.
Amila Falls and the FIP. And now this new information that broke last week during the conference, like we got a conference every week for no happening in this country. They're telling me now
Yes.
they sell out the packaging plant at
Yeah.
Enmore for another
Yeah.
gas, well, for an oil and gas industry project, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever happened to the grand plan to open back the
Mm-hmm.
sugar estates? Because Granger didn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
What's his name? Noel Holder didn't know what he's
Noel.
doing. Y'all know everything y'all
Mm-hmm.
doing. So why the sugar industry ain't open? Not one estate in 18 months. Eh? Hypocrites,
Exactly.
Christopher. Talk to me about them. You know
Mm-hmm.
them.
Yeah, but you see, again, listen, for all the years that we've known the PPP, the most unfortunate thing is that they always use our brothers and sisters in the sugar belt, in the sugar industry, as nothing more than what you would call a cash cow for votes or a voting cow. Is that they will ensure that this cow is well fetted because when it comes an election time, they guarantee approximately like 30 something thousand votes coming out from the sugar belt. And they constantly keep the sugar workers in abject poverty. That they will continue ever so often to dole out a cash grant to them and so forth. And they continue to lie to them. As you rightfully mentioned, when we were right sizing the sugar industry, because I take you back to about 14 years when the likes of Winston Murray, Derek Bernard were members of parliament. And Winston Murray at time was at length speaking to the fact that we need to get out the sugar no, or we needed to get out the sugar some years before that. And I'm talking 14 years ago. And the fact that he was talking about
Mm-hmm.
it is time that we diversify this industry and start pointing the industry to plant new crops and so forth so that you keep the same workers but they're now working on new produce and so forth. And the PPP fought tooth and nail. No, we want to shut down the industry, even though you were seeing the analysis. It tells you that, listen, Guyana, you were spending, let's say, $10 to produce a pound of sugar, and then when you produce that pound of sugar, you're selling it for $5. That was the
You
figure
run a
since then.
charity.
Exactly. And
Charity run.
even though these hypocrites, even though the hypocrites argue against that, they started shutting down the estates. You remember the Houston estate? They started to close down
Mm-hmm.
the estates.
Mm-hmm. Diamond.
When the AP and UASC got into office, and you continue to right size it, that the new ideas are, listen, give the sugar workers who are already working the lands plot of lands, give them new produce to plant, give them an incentive to start planting and so forth and so on. And then some of the industries would have had to been closed. Now, when you do that, and you have these workers now focusing on their own land, they become self-sufficient. This is something PPP don't like at all. Anybody who becomes self-sufficient
Mm-hmm.
or independent of
Mm-hmm.
them is problematic. And that's why I keep saying is that the PPP love mendicancy. They love mendicants across the country. If um, parents have issues in terms of finding the resources necessary to send their children to school, they'll give them a school cash grant. If the sugar workers need money, they give them a farmers, they give them a farmers grant. That is what they do. But you ask them about increasing people's wages and salaries, giving them a livable wages and salaries. Like, no, that is independency. No, you can't be independent. You must be dependent on me. And that is what they
Mm-hmm.
continue. During
Mm-hmm.
the campaign, they went back to the Fete cow and preached to them that, listen, when we come back in power, we go open back all of the industry. They give them all of those assurances and promises that the AP and UFC and Granger know what you went doing, and they shut down and put 18,000 people on the bread line and everything. We go open up all the industry. Whereas they know the reality. You remember we often say, Sherrod, in life and politics, there's perception and there's reality.
Correct.
And
Correct.
while the PDP was lying, while they were lying to the sugar workers, they knew the reality. They knew that no sugar industry can't be reopened, and you have to diversify and find new areas or avenues for these people to work. But during the campaign, because they needed the votes. They needed the votes from this voting cow, you would want to call it, from the sugar industry. And they told them all of that, and the sugar workers went out there again and voted for them. They got into office 2 years on, ain't got one sugar factory open back yet. Ain't got one industry, because they know the realities that it make no sense. It makes no sense. And lo and behold, now with the more packages plant, they sold it with the people and the workers inside, and the people that you didn't know they were sold. Like,
And come to
what?
that
We were
price
sold?
because
Exactly.
God will set
I
the
heard
shop.
Guy Suko and the union, they were shook it. They were shook it. It's like,
Yes.
what happened here? It's like, we told, I mean, you don't want to say this because it puts people on the breadline, but we told you so. And I mean, Sherrod, again, perception and reality. And the AP and UAFC always operates and inform people of the reality on the ground. We
Mm-hmm,
don't come and
mm-hmm,
sugarcoat nothing to you. At the end of the day, you have a right for accurate information. And this is the accurate information. And we told you so. We told you this is the situation and it can't change. And this is what we have to do. But the PVP, they will lie to even the mama. They will lie
mm-hmm.
to their mom and daddy
And sell
just
she
to
to
get
inside the
votes to
house
go.
she living in.
Exactly. Exactly. So it is a sad situation, and I mean, we said it before, and now hopefully, the sugar workers have again, I hope, awoken to the reality of the PPP. The PPP is not the PPP of Cheddy Jagan or even Janet Jagan. The PPP now is not the PPP for the working class and the struggling poor of this country. This is a different PPP, and that is what I can tell people from the ending years that I was there when I caught the tail end of Janet Jagan, and who continued or tried to continue to push the workings and the ways of Chedi Jagan to ensure that the poorer class citizens of this country benefit, and all that. This is not the same PPP. This is now a full blown Jaganite, what's his name? Jagdionite,
Mm-hmm,
if there's
mm-hmm,
such a word,
mm-hmm.
Jagdionite PPP. And the last remaining set of the Jaganites that were there have essentially been pushed aside. You don't see them anymore. You don't hear from a Ramatar. You don't hear from a Clement Ruhi. You don't hear from because they have been shoved aside. They have been put in a corner. This is Jagdio's party. And Jagdio's party is all about money and making money are making a hustle,
Mm-hmm,
and he
mm-hmm,
surrounds himself with a bunch of hustlers. So when you thinking that they are interested and they're building road and empty, you think they're building road for benefit the people who have to traverse back and forth. It's like, no, it's somebody who has to build the road who will make the money. Somebody who has to clear the land have to make the money. Somebody who has the sand, the loom, the stone, the brick, the cement, the steel rod, they have to make the money. So it's all about that. It's not about development of anything when it comes to these things. That is the reality. That is how this PvP operates. And that is why you even, I mean, you look, for example, in the manner in which they treat public servants, who essentially is the wheel that keeps this country moving. And that is why in the parliament, in my budget presentation, I begged the question, what has the public servants, the police, and the soldiers done to the
Yes,
People's
I remember that
Progressive
question you
Party
posed.
Civic? Because year after year, budget after budget, nothing is in there for them. And what is it that they've done to you that you have it out for them in this sort of manner? But that is the PPP. This is the current PPP. It is not Cherry Jagan's PPP. This is Jagneo PPP. And it's all about the hustle, all about the money for he and he buys them and so forth. Look at the situation we got in this country. We mentioned it earlier about these people who parading around this place with fancy vehicle with police lights and sirens and
Mm-hmm.
everything. Those are some of the hustlers. Them is the big buys. Anything happen, police pull them over. They pick up the phone and call Jack Dio. You got some flat foot hustlers out there who I know. And they tell you play in the street like Chris, look, anytime I could pick up the phone here and I could call Jack Dio and get you on the force call because it's about a hustle. It's not running government. You can't even refer to it as an oligarchy. I think a Manza, was it a Manza? Or one of our MPs in the presentation rightfully coined the PPP a mafia style.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
full
Yep.
mafia
Mm-hmm.
operation, full mafia Godfather Jadleo. That is what we have in this
Yep.
country.
Where
And
where
and
um where Suism is the guiding philosophy, right? You gotta get
exactly,
middleman and kickbacks. That's
exactly.
Suism.
And that is the norm. That is Guyana today. That is Guyana today. You see, like similar, just give it a few more days or weeks in terms of the Enmore packaging plant that has been sold from under the feet of the people, and they don't even know that they get sold inside working there. Give it a couple of weeks, and you go hear about a middleman, and then this another soup. That is
But
this is
I
how
think
Guyana is run.
what is quite striking, Chris, is that the sugar workers take sell so easy. You know, one knows that
Yeah.
had a different regime been a different administration been in power, things would have gone down, sir.
Mm-hmm.
The sugar workers
Well,
take it easy. And Gawu, who
well,
said they were surprised, take it quietly too. Gawu now say, I know if you appreciate that. Gawu said they have to now meet with Gaisuko to see and to find out. Gaisuko moving
yeah,
like Frank Atina, we have to go now and investigate and get a
yeah.
report and
Yeah, yeah. It's sad situation. Sad situation. And you rightly mentioned, had it been another administration in office, the union, the sugar union would have got everybody and the grandmother out on the road with a placard holding. And they would have they would have had some choice words for the administration. Choice words. But now, you're hearing a word from the union because at the end of the day, the union and the party is one. All of we one. I mean, it's like the term I used to use back in the day. The union probably look at it and say, when they realize, well, I mean, it's PPP in power, it's every party in power. And all they would say is that, "Well, I mean, they sell out the Enmore's packaging plant, and Dawa, and Dawa,
hmm
and they
hmm
go move on,
because we were
and they go move
highlighting that
on.
when we were right sizing the industry, uh, a number of the sugar workers were retrained for the wider
Hmm.
economy, and the people were upping arms about that. But they say they're happy now
Yeah,
to be retrained for
yeah,
the oil and gas sector. The sugar workers have told us, like how Sue told me, told that he in part of this, he in talk to Vice News, sir. So
hmm,
according to the PPP, because we get a comment from a sugar worker here, we are happy, according to the PPP.
yeah,
The sugar workers happy to be retrained. They're happy.
yeah. Hmm.
So,
See that?
Puckatory, Puckatory, Puckatory
My
people, hundreds of you guys watching us, and we encourage you to share the live stream. We want to see those emojis as well. Chris, I want to thank you, our parliamentary opposition chief whip, Christopher Jones, honorable member of parliament, a real honorable member of parliament. None of others, and let's call honorable, that cussing and abusing, don't degrading our women. You understand me? We use that
Hmm.
term too lightly in National Assembly. Too
I'm
likely,
telling you.
too likely. But Chris, by the time these guys finish, we got a low confidence motion against each and every one of them. Because it's his speaker,
Exactly.
it's Ben, it's and not
Frank
unjustified. Not
Frank Anthony too.
unjustified.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, and one more note on Darmalal. Now I saw the release, and of course we will welcome it from Anok, um, about Darmalal's pronouncement in the parliament and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
But I await to see Anog take that a bit further because Anog and what is it, TNM and the other Jaina party
Yeah,
has a representative
yeah,
in the House
yeah,
in the person of the Deputy
yeah,
Speaker Lennox Schumann.
yeah.
I mean, before even this incident, I am appalled and very alarmed, and I don't know if the Anog and TMN and the other party is aware, but during the consideration of the estimates, which essentially was 4 days at about 11 hours per day, questioning for every single ministry and agency and so forth, there was not a single question that was posed by the Deputy Speaker of the Parliament, Mr. Leonard Schumann. Not a single question. And that, to me, is very alarming. And it should be as well to ANOG, TN, TMN, and the other party that has that representative in the House. He had no question about from the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs, of
Mm-hmm.
which the largest numbers of votes that they have gotten during the last election came from that community. He had no question for the Minister of Health during this COVID pandemic in which you see number of people that are dying and new infection every day and the reduction of testing that is being done. He had no question for that. He had not one single question for any of the ministries or agents.
Hello. Folks.
Human's
Yeah.
position,
Yeah.
religious
Yeah.
committee, and the sanctions that they will be imposing upon Nigel Darmanal. I await to hear his response and see his reaction.
Yep. Yeah. And Chris, it'll be nice to see a motion, as you said, coming from these folks, because a lovely rebuke from Arnold, as
Yeah,
you rightly said. But we gotta go beyond that. You're gonna remember the National Assembly too. It'll be nice to see a motion coming
exactly.
from the joiner parties on this very issue.
Hmm.
Chris, I want to thank you for spending this time with us. As you know, every time Chris comes through, it's a breath of fresh air. Thank you so much, Parliamentary Opposition Chief Whip Christopher Jones. Thanks, Chris.
Yep.
Folks, that's our program for today.
Sure.
Thank you. Go right ahead, Chris. Sorry.
No, I just came back. Apparently, I was reconnecting.
Yeah, I was saying thank you for joining our program. Every time you come through, Chris, it's a breath of fresh air. Your insights, your institutional knowledge on these issues, much welcome here.
Most welcome, Sharon.
Thank you, sir. Folks, that's our program for today. Those of you who are in the diaspora, especially those of you who are in the north, there's going to be a protest against racism that is going to be happening in New York. And more specifically, I think this is in, let me get some clear information, clear guidance to give you guys. This is going to be happening, in Brooklyn, the Assembly Point. This is the Caribbean Guyana Institute for Democracy, CGID, the North American Region Incorporated, or NAR, North American Region Incorporated, is a North American, I think, chapter of the PNCR, along with the Guyanese Organizations Against Racism. The Guyanese Organizations Against Racism. There's going to be a protest against the PPP. Again, this is going to be happening in Brooklyn. They say the assembly point is God's Battalion of Prayer. It's going to be held today at 5:30 p.m. Today at 5:30 p.m. God's Battalion of Prayer is the assembly point. This is 661 Linden Boulevard, Brooklyn, New York, 11202. And they say it's Linden Boulevard and Schenectady Avenue. I hope I'm calling the name of the avenue correct. Schenectady Avenue. Linden Boulevard and Schenectady Avenue. Those of you who are in the diaspora and in that area specifically, we'd love to have your support. And this is a protest against the PPP by the organizations against Caribbean, the Guyanese Organizations Against Racism, and the CGID, the Caribbean Guyana Institute for Democracy, along with the PNCR North American chapter. You're invited, guys, to be part of that. Boots on the ground, boots on the ground, boots on the ground. We say we are back in down, and so this is going down this afternoon at Linden Boulevard and Schenectady Avenue there in Brooklyn, New York. See you guys out there. See you guys out there. Guys, that's our program for today. We encourage you guys to share the live stream. Lizzie Simon, Ingrid King, share the live stream. Gwenna Jones and Donna Liverpool, share the live stream. Jackie Beard and Wilma Grant and Pamela Gurick, Candy Lillian and the Jade. We encourage you guys to share the live stream. One and all, Wendy, Rowland, and Samoa Williams. That's our time for today. We encourage you guys to come on board and to partner with us so that we can continue to do our work, our programs, continue to bring you the valuable, credible information. We're available via Cash App. It's a dollar sign in the ring 592. The dollar sign in the ring 592. We're available via uh, PayPal and via Zelle as well. The email address you want to make contact with those platforms, it's in the ring 592 at gmail.com. In the ring 592 at gmail.com. We're also available via MMG 6276963 is our MMG number. 6276963, available via MoneyGram, available via Western Union, guys. We really invite your support to keep our work going. That's our time for today. You need any clarifications, you need any guidance, the number you want to WhatsApp is 627-6963. That's our MMG number as well. You can WhatsApp us there for any guidance on how you can be part of contributing to keep our programs going. Thank you, folks, for joining us. Carletta Ronalds. That's our time for today, Jackie Beard. And that's our time for today as well, Maureen Chichester Paul. That's our time for today, Diane Graves Andy. We're going to see you guys back in the ring tonight at 8, this evening at 8, in the PM at 8. We're in the ring. Thanks for joining our international podcast, Below the Belt. Who Vex News? Who Vex Vex? Stay safe, guys. Stay safe. Watch the weather. Stay warm wherever you are. Stay safe. That's our time for today.